but be realistic. You have to price it for today's market or it will sit. And if you don't need to sell it right now and you cannot be realistic for whatever reason, your mortgage balance, whatever, then don't put it on the market right now.
Okay, Mark.
Well, we think that 2009 will definitely mark the bottom for the housing market. And I know that there have been forecasts out there saying, oh, 2007, 2008 will be it. We're absolutely certain it's going to be 2009. We're already 2/3 home sales and new home construction already down by more than 2/3. So we're definitely close to the bottom. And right now what we're seeing in the construction market is that home builders can't get credit. And so they are ratcheting down construction. And while that's painful, it is helping bring down inventories and the market is coming back into balance. What we're not so certain about right now is how strong the recovery will be in the second half of the year. We do know that the second half of the year will be better than the first half of the year. But right now with the unemployment rate rising, I think it's still going to be difficult. It's just that sales and construction will stop falling by the middle of this year.
All right, Jim, you didn't want to use your crystal ball. I'm going to ask you to look back. How's that?
Okay.
Take your 30 years and tell me how this downturn compares with any of the other downturns you've seen in the market.
Well, the one it compares the closest to is the recession in the early 80s. But at the time, we had unemployment that capped right at about 11%. The drop in existing home sales dropped over 50%. And we had interest rates double digit as high as 22%. So we certainly haven't reached those levels, and we're certainly not going to reach that level from a mortgage perspective. What we have now that we didn't have then were two things: the 24/7 onslaught of really negative media out there, which again leads to consumer fear and trepidation. But we didn't have the foreclosure issue, and we didn't have the run-up of pricing prior to the recession. So you're having such a precipitous drop. That were two things, but that was brought about by mortgage products that had lax underwriting standards and really got people into homes that really shouldn't have been in homes. And so that's what we're feeling the sting of that right now.
Now, Mark, this is something that John alluded to. We are in a great mortgage rate right now. We've got someone can get a rate around 5% for a 30-year fixed. That is wonderful. So let me ask you if people should look at refinancing. Is now a good time to refinance? And furthermore, if people are concerned about foreclosures or not being able to make their payments, is now a good time to renegotiate?
Well, in terms of refinancing, it really depends on the situation that you're in, because those low interest rates are available for people that do have equity in their home, and they need to have probably equity by the old standards. I mean, if you're in a part of the state where home prices are falling, you're probably going to need 20 to 30% equity in that home in order to refinance at these attractive interest rates. And if you're in an area that home prices are stable, maybe it's 20%. But you're not going to be able to get in with 10% down and get these low mortgage rates. In terms of renegotiating, it really depends on the position that you're in with your lender. And but certainly, if you are in a position where you feel like you're going to become delinquent, it's better to contact your lender sooner than later and try to work things out as soon as possible, because there are a lot of programs out there. There are a lot of things that lenders can do to help people from falling into the foreclosure trap.
Okay. And John, this question is for you in Northern Virginia. 80% of the foreclosures in Virginia can be attributed to Northern Virginia. And you have said that it's spreading not just in the area of exotic mortgages or subprime mortgages, but now to those who have traditional mortgages. Could you discuss this?
Well, it certainly could. What we have in some jurisdictions and some housing markets in Northern Virginia is that prices have fallen so far. In Prince William County, for example, today's average price of a house is what it was in 2001, which is 7 years ago. So, well, 8 years ago, from we were January of 09. Anyway, and so if you bought your house after 2001, and if you didn't have much down in it, if you didn't put much equity into it, you could actually be in a situation where you're paying on a traditional mortgage, where you're and the value of your house is lower than the value of your mortgage. I think the real key, though, in terms of the foreclosures, just to follow up on what Jim said, is that I think the foreclosure is something we have in this recession that we didn't have in the '82 recession. And I think it is a key to determining or being able to say, using our crystal balls, when we're going to come out of this. Because even though we are probably near the end of the stream of the subprime mortgages, we have facing us the resets that are going to begin in 2009 with Alt-A's and the option arm mortgages, which have later resets, which was a tool that didn't start being used as soon as the subprime stuff. And so I think a real key is whether or not those people who are in those have those kinds of mortgages can get their credit ratings up in order to be able to refinance into some of the new programs that are coming out, the FHA loans, as well as some of the other stuff that may come out of the stimulus package, in order that we don't face another huge round of foreclosures beginning in late 09 and into 10 with the Alt-A's and option arms.
Okay, if people are concerned about their mortgage or about foreclosure, where should they turn?
Their first stop or first call should be to their lender, who holds the mortgage and they're making their payments.
And I know that sounds like common sense, but a lot of people don't realize that or make that connection.
Well, they don't, because again, it's not necessarily the loan officer that you took application with. The loan has been sold, and it could be an 800 number in many cases, and somewhere in a different part of the country. And so you may have some time zone issues and stuff, but you need to be diligent in trying to contact them to say, I'm having these issues, what can you do to help me? In absence of that, there are some consumer groups out there. I do believe that there's a graph up that you guys were putting up on the web that will show some of the various consumer agencies throughout the state that can help buyers and sellers if they're having some issues.
Is that the point, Mark, that today things are negotiable? You know, they aren't set in stone.
And people need to put away some of their fears. It's not as if when you call somebody on the line that they're saying, oh, we got another one, let's go send it, and it's going to go right to, and they're going to send the sheriff out to the house. That's not what's going to happen. Instead, they actually have a protocol in place at virtually every lender. They're going to say, okay, we need to put them in touch with these people, and that's who they can work with. The person you talk to on the phone is very disconnected from that. I mean, they're basically a professional call taker. So I mean, and they basically know exactly where to route your call. So you shouldn't be afraid to say, hey, listen, I'm going to have a problem, because it's better to get to it early than later. It's just going to get more expensive.
John McClain, any other tips or suggestions?